Welcome to today's episode of Conversations with Karen and Kat. I'm Karen Scott Green.
And I'm Kat Hardrick.
And we are joined today with Leida Rountree. Leida is a certified financial planner. She has learned she was not alone in her struggle to create life that she desired through stories shared by many clients and colleagues. After recognizing her own lifestyle was unsustainable, she realized her mental, physical, and spiritual health depended upon her ability to redesign her life to align with her passion and values. Leida has been practicing yoga and sought solutions for implementing a consistent self-care routine for more than 20 years. That's a long time.
Yeah.
She was drawn to meditation, an active lifestyle, and healthy mind, body, and spirit. Leida would have glimpses into the power of living from a place of optimal well-being and passion. She is now a certified life coach specializing in reinvention. She is also a yoga teacher and certified mindfulness meditation teacher. Thank you.
Yes. That's a mouthful, girl. You can't say
Yes,
that fast, right?
it is. It is.
Mhm.
Welcome
And
to Conversations with Karen and Kat.
yes,
Thank you.
girl, look, I love the fact we learned how to do all of that animation stuff, right? We can start giving people claps and stuff. And I want to throw out that Leida is one of my longtime friends and one of my sisters in my tribe, in our sister circle. So I am so glad to finally have her in our love seat. I am so glad to have you, girl.
I am so happy to be here with both of my sisters doing these
Yes.
things in public service.
I know
Thank
that's
you.
right. I
Thank
know that's
you.
right.
You
Thank you.
no, thank y'all. Thank y'all.
So, Leida, how did you move into this space of being a life coach?
Well, it's interesting. I actually trained to be a life coach about 20 years ago initially.
Mhm.
And I initially trained because I had hired a coach, and over he'd say, you should be doing this. Like you should consider doing this yourself.
Mhm.
And I was also working in corporate, and it just so happened that I was in a position where leadership was actually funding this type of training.
Mm, okay.
So I went through a life coaching training about 20 years ago, but more recently, it's funny. You know how they say with imposter syndrome, oftentimes you've been doing the thing, but
Mhm.
the minute that you start calling yourself the thing,
The certified thing.
right,
Right.
right. It doesn't, all of a sudden it's like, oh,
Mhm.
what am I? No, I'm not that. So it's
Mhm.
been just kind of in my nature to listen, to help guide and support, whether friends, families, team members, employees. It's just always kind of been in my nature. But most recently, in actually stepping into it as kind of a calling or feeling
Mhm.
purposed in it, it happened after, as you said in my bio, just my life as I knew it was just no longer sustainable. And I knew that there were parts of me that weren't being fully expressed in the world. And I felt that giving that work space in my life would help satisfy that some.
Mm.
And so I decided in just kind of reinventing my own life
Mhm.
that would be a facet that I would be intentional about building out.
Mhm. You know, you know, I know you so personally and intimately, and I thank God for that relationship that we have.
Mhm.
Um, can you share with people the spaces that you create for women to be safe to share things about them that are intimate, to be vulnerable, and to know that they're supported? Um,
Mhm.
let everybody know how impactful this reinvention strategy is, what this really means, and to the women that you help.
Yeah. So thank you for that question. I appreciate it. Well, one thing I will say about reinvention strategists and just the word reinvention is it sounds heavy. It sounds daunting, right? It sounds like, oh my God, I am not ready to go through this big overhaul.
Mm-hmm.
But it isn't that. Reinvention is really returning to
Mm-hmm.
who you have always been. So it is about, I like to say it's about rejecting the myth of normal, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
being willing to step away from the conditioning that we've learned to live by and live according to, and be willing to reconnect to who you are authentically and create a life from that space
Mm-hmm.
and to align with that. But going back to like the spaces that I hold for women, I think of our culture, like one of the most fundamental needs that we have as human beings is to be seen. And I think that is something that we have all heard, one time or another. I know Oprah would speak about it a lot, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
everybody wants to be seen, and it is actually an evolutionary need, right? If you were, back in the hunter gatherer days when we were living in tribes,
Mm-hmm.
you weren't seen and it was time for your tribe to move on, you'd be left. Nobody was texting you.
Right.
And catch up.
Meet me at the third tumbleweed, the big stone, right? People had to see you,
Mm-hmm.
sure that you were moving along with the tribe, your same
Mm-hmm.
tribe. And in cultures around the world, that is intentionally built into the way they live. When you think about, um, South Africa, a certain tribe, the Zulu tribe actually in South Africa, and their Sawubona.
Mm-hmm.
We see you, saying that
Yep.
I see you as well as my ancestors and the divine part in me. We all see you. So that is a greeting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in Hindu, it's namaste. The light in me sees the light in you. But in our culture, it's hi, which
Mm-hmm.
literally in the dictionary means to interject or to grab attention, right? To you,
Mhm.
not seeing the other person. And so it is important to me that in creating spaces like retreats and coaching, that fundamental to the experience is that you are seen,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
that you are seen. That is super important to me because
Mm-hmm.
it is just again an evolutionary foundational or fundamental human need.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are some first steps that, and I'm going to speak from the women's perspective because we're women. What's the first step that you would recommend for women to get unstuck in their lives if they're feeling unstuck, disconnected, not finding their purpose, not
Mm-hmm.
walking in their purpose? What would be some
Mm.
of the first steps that as a life coach you would give someone?
So the first step is that I would give someone is to understand where the tension is.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Go to where the tension is. Are you stuck in a relationship? Are you feeling stuck in the job? Are you feeling stuck in your finances? Like, where specifically are you feeling stuck?
Mm-hmm.
And then acknowledge what it is that is sticking you, keeping you
Keep
stuck
you.
there. And
Hmm.
it's typically some limited or limiting belief that we hold.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually entrenched in a should, right? Like,
I should be at this place in my life. I
Mm-hmm.
should be I should be married by this age. I should have
Mm-hmm.
children by this age.
Mm-hmm.
I should have these degrees. I should be further along in my career. I
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
should be making this amount of money. I should have this size house. We do it. We
yes,
all do it.
yes.
If
So
she has
go,
it, why don't I?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so find the tension, right? Find where the tension is and then uncover the story that's there.
Mm.
Mm.
And once you uncover the story that's there and you start to tease out the facts from the story,
Mm-hmm.
then you can start to first start living based on the facts, right? And not living from the story,
Mm-hmm.
and then move forward from there. So it's really finding the tension and uncovering the story that you're stuck in. We're usually stuck in a story.
Yep.
Mm.
And you on rewind. That's all you keep doing is playing it over and over and over again. And then you gravitate to people who validate that story.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, when you break away from that and you have someone who feeds that positive side, what you need to hear, you're like, oh, wait a minute, that's uncomfortable. You
Mm-hmm.
mean I am, smart, or I'm already this, or I'm already that, and it becomes uncomfortable. I want to drive home a very important fact that you do with your teaching and your loving on other women and creating spaces. Um, Me and Karen, we're champions, we're advocates about mental health, and
Mm-hmm.
we make it a point that every show we ask the question of our guests about their mental health practices.
Mm-hmm.
And what we know why we do that is because a lot of people have this negative stigma around mental health. Even
Mm-hmm.
right now in 2025, whether you're a man or female, adult or child, it is a negative. You can't talk about, any of these things, being sad, depressed,
Mm-hmm.
suicide ideations, schizophrenia, alcoholism, any of that. What is it that you do that, one, because you have this annual retreat, and I want you to, because you're the retreat queen,
Yes, I do.
I want you to speak to the what you do different to get people to understand that it's not some plague that you need to run away from. It's something you need to run to help you unlock all of these untreated generational trauma triggers that we have packed in life, where we're just surviving and we're not thriving. Can you
Mm-hmm.
speak to that?
Yeah, so mental health. That's a big one for me.
It is.
That's a
Mm-hmm.
huge that's really, really big for me. So I entered into adult life, kind of went out into the world with a lot of unresolved childhood trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just kept compounding from there, right? A
Mm-hmm.
lot of young adult trauma, a lot of, workplace trauma, relationship trauma, just trauma, 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 trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and, we live in a culture that undermines your well being
Yes.
because it doesn't promote you taking care of yourself or
Yep.
you making yourself a priority. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't acknowledge the things that make us sick in that
Yeah.
way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And culturally, we are conditioned to push through that type of illness.
Mm-hmm.
Even though if you showed up somewhere with a broken leg, no one would say, get this work done,
Right.
right? So,
Get
but
up, dust it off. Work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ain't
yeah,
nothing wrong with you. Or I'm gonna go with the flow. I hear a
Yeah.
lot of women say that. I'm just gonna go with the flow. Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. So I believe, and not just I believe, but I've spent a lot of time learning that being disconnected from yourself, and when I say disconnected from yourself, I mean your own feelings, your own intuition, your own truth is foundational to a lot of what makes us sick, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when you not being able to live in your truth literally makes you sick.
Sick.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
so what the work that I am very intentional about is working with and encouraging women to reconnect with their truth.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can live from your own truth and your own authenticity,
Mm-hmm.
like that is that is why we're here.
That is golden. Yeah.
That is why
Yeah.
we're here to live in our truth. And so for me, my work, because I am not a mental health professional,
Right.
but what I do know is that this disconnection from your authentic being makes you sick.
You know, you did say that you're not a mental health professional, and I'm glad you said that because we're not trying to promote you being a mental health professional. Don't y'all call her saying you. I thought you was an actor. No, no, no. She just have lived experience and definitely hours and hours and hours and hours of certifications and training to put her in that space where she knows what she's talking about. I want you to. I had the opportunity to go to your inaugural retreat, which was totally amazing, and it allowed women who maybe some of us know each other and a lot of us didn't. We were able to connect not only with one another but with nature.
Mhm.
Talk about your signature retreats and how you allowed us to just be who we are. What wait? Talk about how we wrote down our things and what we did with the bonfire. Talk about that one piece. I love that.
Oh, yeah. So that was some work that we So let me just kind of step back and say that so for me, I walk through a process when working with clients and in retreats. I walk
Mm-hmm.
through certainly the main points of the process of reinvention. And for me, or the method that I use is first, again, you reject this myth of normal, right? That this is how you should be living from the outside in, and then you reconnect with who you are authentically. And it is from that place that you reimagine what is
Mhm.
possible for you. And then from there, you recalibrate, right? You recalibrate, you say, okay, this is the vision that I have for me in my own authentic life. And so you then go through this recalibration process and say, okay, this is what I'm doing now that works. This is
Mm-hmm.
what I'm doing now that doesn't. And so these
Mm-hmm.
things go, these things stay, and these things I need to start doing, right? This recalibration process.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start to redesign your life. And in redesigning your life and going for the vision, right? In your attempt to live the vision, things come up that
Mm-hmm.
try to keep you small, right? That say, "Oh, girl, what do you don't need to be doing that. It makes
Mm-hmm.
no sense. You're not going to be able to do that. This is this. Stay in this. Like
Right.
you've been in financial services your entire career, 30 years. You know this. You can do this in your sleep. This is where you need to be, right? So those saboteurs come up
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm.
keep you small,
Yep.
who think their job is to keep you safe. But what they're
Mm-hmm.
doing is they're keeping you small and they're keeping you living the lie and living the story. And so, what we did in the retreat was we uncovered some of those beliefs that were keeping us small,
Mm-hmm.
and we recorded them and we went out to the fire that night and we released them.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It was really nice. And that is one of many things that you do on these retreats. And she has, it's totally amazing. Um,
Oh, thank you.
you have them annually or are you doing more frequent? What's the deal with that? How can people get connected to your retreats? Do you have one coming up?
So I am doing a retreat, but it is in Jamaica. It is not my retreat. I've been
Mhm.
invited to hold space in a
Okay.
retreat, a girlfriend getaway retreat in
Oh,
Jamaica.
wait, slow down, slow down, slow down. You getting invited to do some things, girl. You being seen. I know that's
Yes,
right. That's to be
yes.
celebrated.
Yeah. So I'll be doing that.
Mhm.
But I'll be back in North Georgia in August of next year.
Okay.
And
Okay.
the best way to stay on top of just what I'm doing in the retreat space is to go to leidarountree.com
Okay.
and just click on retreats. And that is where you'll find any upcoming retreats.
And Leida Rountree, Leida is spelled Leida, Rountree, ROUNTREE.com. Again, that's LEIDA ROUNTREE.com. Leida Rountree.
Yes. because our listeners may not see the screen, so we got
Yes.
some people who watch audio and video, so that's really important. Now, talk about your extensive career in finance, because you also help women, because that is a point, like a lot of women don't even want to talk about money. People don't set themselves up for their future, and I'm guilty of
Mhm.
that. I'm frugal and cheap and all of those things. But having someone like an expert at yourself to make sure we have not only our finances together, but our estate planning and all that other good stuff. So, can you speak to that importance? Because that also contributes to the lies that we tell ourselves and contributes to us not being healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I've been in financial services for a long time, right? Started way back when actually as a trader, back when, you had to pick up a landline and call a stockbroker, and the
Uh-huh.
stockbroker would call a brokerage firm,
Right.
and, I'd be on the other end, trades,
Hmm. Right,
you
right.
know, yeah. And so clearly a lot has changed since then. But yeah,
Hmm.
so many years in financial services, the last decade as a certified financial planner professional. And I think what I would simply speak, what I would simply speak to in that regard is I will just simply point to the current environment we're in,
Hmm.
right? And the fact that, 318,000 Black women were forced out of their jobs over a 3-month
Hmm.
period
Yep.
this
Hmm.
year. Yes, some by choice, many not, right?
Right.
Most
Not.
unexpected, right? Without
Hmm.
warning. And what I would say is the important thing about the most important thing to me, particularly when I am speaking to Black women, is that you plan your pivots,
That's right.
right? Like you plan your pivot, whether
Mhm.
it's a forced push that you have to turn into a pivot, or it is a pivot that you are deciding because you're just ready to evolve into what's next.
Yep.
You have to plan that one or the other at some point is very
Hmm.
likely to happen. And the best that you can do for yourself is give yourself some peace about it, so that
Hmm.
we're not moving through life worrying about what if,
Mm.
what if, or what if or we're not showing up in survival mode all the time because we think
Girl.
this job is our security, right? And
Hmm.
so we do things like overperform or live with loose boundaries,
Hmm.
that we
Hmm.
really plan that at some point in life, you are going to pivot, whether it's a pushed or forced pivot, or whether it is a pivot that you decide and that you're evolving onto the next thing. In either scenario, you need some kind of financial structure in place to support that.
And
Hmm.
I think it's so important that we as women create a safe space and continue to tell women that it's okay to start
Yes.
anew. It's
Yes.
Hmm.
okay to start a new job. It's okay to start a whole new career, even at
Yes.
whatever your big age is. It's
Hmm.
okay. Create the
Amen.
plan. Sometimes you have the benefit of the planning, sometimes you don't. But when you don't, it's okay to go another direction. If you've been in one career for a number of years and now
Hmm.
you're finding yourself no longer being able to find work or in that field, or maybe that field, once you've gotten laid off, you discovered it wasn't really bringing you joy. It's okay to start over, sis. It's okay
Hmm.
to go back to school and get another certification in something totally different. It's never too late to start, regardless of
Nope.
how many kids you have, how many husbands you've had,
Mhm.
whatever.
Facts. Yep. Listen, y'all
It's
know.
and
It
so we
is.
as women have to make sure that we continue to tell our sisters this, because sometimes we get stuck in, oh, I'm a lawyer, so, or I'm a teacher, or I'm a whatever the thing is.
Mhm.
I couldn't possibly start over. I couldn't start something new at
Mhm.
age 50, whatever, or age 40
Mhm.
or 60. As
Mhm.
long as you got breath in your lungs, you got the
Yep.
opportunity to start
Yeah.
something new
Yeah.
at any point.
Amen. And we three women just and we are examples of supporting one another and breaking that negative stereotype that I'm not even going to give a space on my podcast to say, but we're the example. We're modeling,
Mhm.
lifting one another up, being support to one another. And I challenge everyone that's watching this episode to be that change to help support your sister,
Yeah.
right? Because far too many times the should is comparing ourselves to somebody else.
Ooh,
And
comparison is the death of your peace.
Yeah.
correct.
Comparing yourself to somebody else. I was just having this
Mm-hmm,
conversation with my child literally
mm-hmm.
yesterday.
See
Mm.
how God works?
Comparison will be your death. When
Yeah,
Mhm.
you think that you should be someplace in life compared to somebody else, it is definitely the killer of your peace.
It
yep,
is.
yep. And like I heard someone say last night at an event, uh, God
Well, you can say where
don't
you
ca-
were. Oh, never mind.
God God doesn't doesn't care what other people say about you. God only care about your own good deeds that you're doing.
Mhm.
So we got to stop caring about what other people say and what other
Mhm.
people think of us. Like what you're doing with Lita, you need to reinvent yourself and believing and live your truth, not the
Mhm.
lies that other people have for you. You
Mhm.
understand what I'm saying? And so that's
Absolutely.
very important. And that's what we love to do about this show. The show is not a podcast, it's a total ministry. And we know that what we're doing help are helping people. Our vulnerability is giving someone else the liberation. We're liberating others to do the same and speak
Mhm.
their own truth. And that's very, very important. And so I'm very proud of you, sis. I
Mhm.
love everything that you're doing. And you've helped me because Lord knows I've been, whew, you know, um, and I love it, and I know that God has so much in store for you because you're already going to Jamaica, and next thing you know, honey, you're going to be talking to millions and millions of people, and you're going to be helping transform lives. And I'm just so glad that I've been a part of that to even receive it for myself. So I really look forward to it because these retreats are amazing to go to, family. So please check them out. And she is the retreat queen. I will say that because it is amazing. I mean, these retreats are first class, and you're really going to enjoy yourself. So that's all. I'm read off my soapbox about my friend.
And she's a beautiful soul. So, Lita,
Mhm.
if there is one message that you want our listeners to remember from this conversation, what would that be?
Mm. Reconnection. Reconnect with who you are. Like
Mhm.
reconnect with your truth. People don't understand how young we are when that disconnection happens.
Mm.
So we often live in that disconnection for our entire lives and just don't know that that is how we're
Mhm.
living. So reconnect,
Yes.
learn how to reconnect to your own truth and authenticity.
Yep.
Love it.
I
Love
love that. And if you don't know how to do that, check out Leader Roundtree. Is it .com? Okay, yes, leaderroundtree.com, so you can learn how to do that. Because a lot of people, we give them words and people don't know how to achieve that. My last question for you, Queen, like I said earlier, we like to take away the stigma around mental illness, and we want to promote how people can better serve themselves in all spaces and take care of themselves, number one, making me a priority. What do you do to take care of your mental wellness and all the things that you're doing for others? What do you do to pour back in yourself?
Ooh, I do yoga, I do meditation, I eat well, I sleep well.
Mm-hmm.
I've redesigned my life to make my job about taking care of myself first.
I know
it.
that's right. Can you put that on a t-shirt? We know somebody who make t-shirts. Can
That is
What?
absolutely beautiful. And
Yes.
for our listeners and our viewers to follow Leida Rountree and what she is doing and to get in on her next retreat.
Yes.
You can follow her at leidarountree.com, and Leida is spelled Leida Rountree, Rountree, leidarountree.com. Leida, thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Conversation with Karen and Kat.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you,
you so very
ladies.
much.
Thank you to
Thank
Thank
the
you.
you.
listeners. And thank you both for your service.
Thank you. And to
Thank
our
you.
listeners, as always, we want to thank you for joining us on today's episode of Conversations with Karen and Kat.
Well, we are impacting the world one conversation at a time.